There is a type of quiet that doesn't mean no one is talking. It's the quiet of a phone that finally rests in your pocket all day. It's the calendar alert for a birthday you don't feel a pull to acknowledge. This stillness wasn't a single choice you made one afternoon. It was 1,000 small decisions that added up over years. You didn't just walk away, you stopped walking toward. And what you find on the other side isn't what you were told it would be. This isn't about being cruel or cold. It's a form of self-preservation that your nervous system understood long before your mind caught up. If this quiet feels familiar, you might recognize these stages. 1. You realized you were already alone in the crowd. Long before you created any distance, a feeling of deep separation had taken root inside you. You could be in a room full of laughter and chatter, nodding along, yet feel completely untouched by any of it. Conversations happened, but they skimmed the surface of a much deeper ocean within you. The connection you craved was perpetually out of reach, making the presence of others a highlight of your isolation, not a cure for it. Being surrounded by people never guaranteed you felt seen or held. 2. "I'm busy" became your truest shield. Initially, it was a convenient excuse, a social lubricant to avoid engagements that drained you, but over time it evolved. It transformed from a polite fiction into a firm, non-negotiable boundary. You stopped feeling the need to justify, explain, or apologize for guarding your energy. Why offer lengthy reasons to people who never truly listened to the shorter ones? The silence of not responding became far more peaceful than the exhaustion of repeating yourself. 3. You were the consistent anchor in every storm. For so long, you played a specific role, the reliable one. You were the person who remembered, who checked in, who showed up, often at your own expense. You provided a steady harbor for others, assuming it was simply who you were. This giving felt automatic, a reflex you rarely questioned for balance. You poured from your cup so freely you didn't notice it was perpetually running dry. 4. Your own storm arrived, and you stood in the rain alone. There came a moment, a crisis, a breaking point, a deep fatigue, when you needed that harbor for yourself. You reached out, perhaps for the first time, expecting the support you'd always given, and you were met with silence. Messages lingered on, read, promises to call evaporated. It was in that stark, quiet absence that a painful truth crystallized. You had been emotionally solitary all along. The networks of connection were an illusion. 5. Your relationships underwent a silent audit. After that disappointment, you couldn't unsee the math. You began, almost unconsciously, to evaluate every interaction on a balance sheet of emotional energy. How much did this cost you? What did it return? The equations, once ignored, now screamed their results. You saw yourself endlessly pouring from an empty vessel into ones that were never meant to be filled. The generosity had vanished, only depletion remained, so you quietly closed the ledger. 6. People noticed your absence, not your reasons. When you stepped back, the change in your behavior was the only thing that registered. You were labeled distant, changed, or difficult. They missed the version of you that was always available, but showed no curiosity about what it cost that version to exist. Your withdrawal felt like a personal fence because it disrupted what they were accustomed to receiving. No one asked what had been breaking inside you for years. Sometimes peace requires walking away from the noise. 7. Your body knew the pattern before you did. Your nervous system is a relentless historian. It recorded every instance of trust followed by letdown. It learned that people often stay for the sunshine, but disappear when the weather gets rough. Your physiology began to brace for abandonment as a default setting. What was meant to feel like safety and connection started to feel like a precarious gamble. This wasn't pessimism, it was your body's data-driven conclusion from years of evidence. 8. The blueprint was drafted in childhood. This pattern isn't an adult invention. Its foundations were laid much earlier, in an environment where care felt inconsistent or conditional. You learned during vulnerable moments that relying on others was a risk. Support might be withheld or come at a confusing cost. So you started building your own fortifications. 9. You learned to sense the ending early. With enough repetition, you developed a quiet expertise in spotting the earliest signs of withdrawal: a shift in tone, a delay in response, a decrease in effort. These were no longer minor details, they were the opening notes of a farewell song you knew by heart. So you stopped asking for explanations, you stopped chasing fading signals. Pulling back preemptively felt like the only way to soften a blow you saw coming. You didn't build walls to keep people out, you built boundaries to survive. 10. Your independence was a survival tactic, not a preference. The self-reliance people may admire wasn't a proud choice, it was a necessary adaptation, a suit of armor forged in response to unreliable surroundings. You handled things alone because waiting for help often meant facing nothing at all. Needing others felt like setting yourself up for another fall. What looked like strength from the outside was, internally, a strategy to prevent further loss. 11. Leaving became synonymous with breathing. At a certain point, departure stopped feeling like an act of rejection and started feeling like the only viable act of preservation. You weren't trying to punish anyone, you were trying to save the remaining parts of yourself. Staying meant continuing to shrink, to perform, to accept less than you deserved. Leaving, as agonizing as it was, allowed your system to finally exhale and begin a true recovery. So, if you find yourself in this quiet space, understand this: cutting everyone off is often misunderstood. It is not a failure of your heart, it is your heart's last stand, a refusal to accept breadcrumbs and call it a meal anymore. You are not broken or incapable of connection. You are someone who has learned, through repeated trial, that sometimes the most profound peace is found not in learning to tolerate the noise, but in having the courage to walk away from it and discover the strength in your own silence. If this exploration of quiet strength resonated with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel.